storytelling for that matter. Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Would absolutely love to hear more stories from you. 888-957-9570 is the number. Howard in Emeryville, who apparently watched Willie play. Hey, Howard, thanks for calling.
Thanks a lot, you guys. Love the show. Listen,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to bring an historical or racial perspective into my life through Willie Mays, through my father. My father was a big Giant fan in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and he loved baseball, and I loved baseball. I was a Yankee fan, and his favorite player was Hank Greenberg from the Detroit Tigers, even though he was a Giant fan. And I always asked him, Dad, why? He said, looked at me. He said, don't be stupid. He's the only Jew playing in baseball. So that's why I love him. And when he said he didn't hit 58 homers and he didn't get the Babe Ruth record, it really bothered my father. Then Willie Mays came along, and he said to me, we went to Polo Grounds in 54. I was sitting with him on the right first base side, and he says, you're looking at the greatest player that's going to play this game. And I looked at him. I said, I thought Hank Greenberg was playing, your greatest player. He said, no, Hank Greenberg was my favorite because he was Jewish. But this guy is the greatest player that you'll ever see. And it went on, and we followed his career in perspective. And I would just like to say that my father was right. I mean, these ethnic and racial groups, we follow our own. They're very proud. And when Sandy Koufax came along, my father said he was the greatest left-handed pitcher. And I started saying, hey, Dad, how come Jews and blacks are the greatest players? He said, because they are. And that's it. Just watch them. And
I love it. Because they are. That's why, son.
And go to your room,
That's right.
Brush your
exactly
teeth.
what it was. They shut up, and they are. He said, when you see these guys play, especially the black ball players, he loved, because they had a special flair to them that the white players didn't have. And they introduced another game. Jackie introduced running the bases and everything else. But Willie Mays was his favorite player of all time. And I'll never forget when he said, they are, and shut up. That's it. Just watch baseball.
Howard, thanks, man. Thanks for sharing
thanks,
that.
Howard.
And it brings to mind something that Bob Costas said that Willie Mays was very, very aware of. And I wonder how many baseball fans who have only watched Willie highlights thought that hat flew off all the time because Willie was just so damn fast he ran right out of the thing. But I loved that story that Willie was keenly aware of the entertainment factor. See, even back then, keenly aware of the entertainment factor in sports and in Major League Baseball. And so he wore his hat purposefully a touch too small because he knew that when it flew off, it entertained the fans.
And you even heard it in the song by the Treniers,
yes,
which came out in his 5th year in baseball, and they even referenced the fact that the hat flew off as he rounds the base, and it's just perfect, and the flair. And Willie actually was quoted as saying he made the hard plays look easy, and he intentionally made the easy plays look a little bit hard in order to embellish that sort of entertainment factor.
This is a moment, this whole week now is a moment that makes you just forget about what's actually going on right now.
The Giants losing again?
Yeah, well, whatever, even if they had won.
So we can't fire Farhan today?
Well, you can.
Okay.
Actually, this is one of the 28 thoughts that have gone through my head about Willie Mays. And I wonder, and this isn't just Farhan, this is analytics. You can't win without them now. You can't beat teams that are diving deep into analytics if you just ignore them. So I understand that fact. But I thought about this driving in today, and I'm listening to caller after caller call in and express this connection with Willie Mays that is just so next level. And the thought crossed my mind, maybe this does a better job of anything that any of us have ever said about baseball in 2024 in terms of the inability of today's player to connect with the fan base. The way that teams are built now, the begging that Giants fans have done for, my God, is there someone whose jersey we'd like to buy? Absolutely begging. While the organization keeps responding with, but right-handers against a left-hander. think of this. I hope that front offices across the world notice the way the world is reacting to Willie Mays. And I can freely acknowledge, because of how special he was, there will never be another Willie Mays. But there really, really won't ever be another Willie Mays if y'all keep treating baseball like this. Well, but the math says that this guy's got a 5% better chance of getting the ground ball through the hole there on the right. As long as you treat it like that, you'll never get this level of connectivity ever again.
Right. And that's one reason why we all were so excited about this year's Giants season, is because it felt like Bailey, Pence, use a pen. He's playing. Jung-Hoo Lee, pen. Conforto, pen. Chapman, you're using a pen. You had enough pen in the lineup, guys, and you got excited about that. And you just had me thinking about Willie in this day and age playing for Kapler. Willie, I'm afraid we've got a righty. And I wanted to see his splits.
Imagine.
Willie Mays hit 448 home runs against right-hand pitching.
Against right-handers.
He hit 207 against lefties. He batted .305 against lefties. He hit 300 against righties.
That's right.
His OPS was 1,006 against lefties, a mediocre 917 against righties.
Dude.
Willie, I'm afraid we're going to have to go to the lefty, Jock Peterson.
Your OPS goes down 80 points against a sidewinding right-hander.
You strike out 3 times more often against the righties.
We have a different Willie. His last name is McCovey. He's lefty. We're pinch hitting for you.
Sometimes I have to try to joke around to deal with the anguish and the pain.
Well, but I mean, no, that it struck me today.
Yeah,
I'm like listening to
thinking
people
about it too.
I'm listening to people shed tears who never watched him play. You're shedding tears having never watched him play.
That was you yesterday.
Yeah.
You barely got through the announcement.
Yep. And yet baseball today is feeding you like, yeah, but this guy's got a little bit better of a chance, so we're gonna go, like it's never gonna happen again.
And I was listening to the roast this morning. My baby girl was watching her Coco Menin, so I threw it on the laptop and I was looking at the YouTube feed and listening to the guys, and they were kind of echoing what you said about the Giants needing a guy. And you know, you're not going to find a Willie Mays. I get that. You're not going to find the greatest player in history, although you've had two of the top 5 of all time have played in that uniform. So it is possible. But how about just a guy? And if it's Ramos or Matos, then so be it. That'd be great. They don't have to be Hall of Famers or perennial All-Stars. Just a guy who you know is going to play, and you can get excited about 6 of the 7 games in the week.
I did hear a historian say yesterday, because Willie Mays was often referred to, even though some just say, look, he's the greatest of all time. So, but therefore very easy to also use the label greatest living ball player. Willie Mays, greatest living ball player. Now that he's passed away, who's the greatest living ball player? And many would argue it's his godson. What are the odds? What are the odds? The greatest living ball player passes away and then hands the label to his godson. And both of them made much of their hay in Giants uniforms.
Yes.
And that is the legacy of this organization that I think is very fair when fans get frustrated with what they see now. Because you are talking about people that have connected with fans at such an elite level to continue that legacy. I understand that things are different now, but turn and burn and options and the farm and the bus and all of that stuff, you get resigned to the idea that it's like we're never going to get that again. We're never going to connect with a player like this ever again, especially if baseball is going to be run like this.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes it so sad. And, you know, you look at the current regime and the way they've gone about, you know, promoting guys and relegating guys and all the rest of it. And I know it's because you haven't had a signature player, but even go a little bit further down the depth chart, you've also had McCovey So you've had, and Ott and other legendary players.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could. And so you feel as an organization, you've been very fortunate, yet as a younger fan, even somebody, our age where, I saw Willie McCovey, but I was a young kid and he was toward the end of his career. I didn't really see peak Willie in the 60s and the early 70s. So, that's 2 generations now since I was a kid. And these guys, Mark and Lucas behind the glass, who are in their first generation of life, generation's about 25 years. They're getting into the second quarter of their century. And so for them, their purview is Buster Posey as the greatest player with the Giants that they've ever seen. And even at that, if you're Mark Grandy, he was 14 when Buster came up as a rookie. So, it's not like you were already an established grown man with grown man money like now. So spend a lot in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Something like that. 888-957-9570. Let's keep going with as many of you who want to talk about Willie as possible. Trevor in Rodeo. Hey, Trevor, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Just bear with me for a second. So my dad grew up, he was born in 55, but he grew up in Albany, in University Village, and my dad's parents were educators, so they didn't believe in television. They called it the stupid box. So my dad, they didn't even own a TV. They rented a TV for the moon landing. That was the first time that they had television in the house. So my dad grew up listening to the radio, and as kids, so my dad's about 7 or 8. My grandmother used to love to tell the story. It was her favorite story to tell about my dad. So as your kids, you like to, put 100 on 10, embellish a little bit. And because my grandfather was a postman, everybody knew what he was. So, but how kids are like, oh, my dad's an astronaut, and, or my dad, he's Buffalo Bill Cody or whatever, just insert whatever into here. Well, my dad, everyone knew who my grandfather was. So my dad, trying to get on in that game, as like a 7 or 8 year old boy, goes, oh yeah, well, my uncle's Willie Mays. And like the kids go, Eric, your uncle's not Willie Mays. Oh, no. He doubled down. Oh, no. He takes me to games. He's the one that bought me my glove, this and that. And like, after a while, the kids are like, Eric, there's no way your uncle's Willie Mays. And he's just staunching out of him. Yes, he is. And they go, Eric, there's no way. He goes, well, how do you know? He goes, because Willie Mays is black. And my dad, being defiant, the kid goes, so? And like, so that's always like our favorite story. And then when my grandmother told us this story, my dad had never told it because my dad's a pretty quiet guy. And so anytime we would go to a game, we'd always like, me and my buddy, be like, hey, Dad, hey, where's Uncle Willie at? Like, can we get some better seats? Can we, what's up with the signed glove? What's up with an autograph? So like, but like, just in regards to how Willie was and how he presented himself, like I heard Shasky mention this morning while I was driving into work, how my dad's, number in any sport he played, like for rec league softball or rec league basketball, was always 24. And it was in regards to Willie, because that was his favorite player. That was his guy. And I think about, who my favorite player was when I was a kid, when he would take me to games, was Ricky. Ricky's number, depending on what team he was on, was typically also number 24. So just, and when I heard the news from you yesterday, like the first person I called was my dad, and because he hadn't heard it yet. So it's just shit. Like anyway, just in our lives, we are so like, at least for me, like everything for sports is from my dad, and just hearing that yesterday is just like being able to talk. Like the first thing I want to do, like when you hear when someone else important passes away, like you want to share those memories and just reflect how much you care about people and the positives that that they have provided you, and the long arduous day, how important it is to, like, oh, my team hit a home run or this and that. So thank you for sharing my story, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Trevor, thank you. Thanks for listening to 95.7 The Game all day as well. But yeah, there's a lot of look, the family connections can go in any direction. Willie Mays passes away, and I'm just hearing a lot of people talking about their parents
and their grandparents.
Yep. Like
no
that's
doubt.
And that to me, I mean, that might be the thing. That might be the thing that I hope Willie knows. Like, think of how many people feel brought together with their parents because of Willie Mays.
Yeah, and I was, reminded of that this morning, and even yesterday listening to Joe Shasky, the butcher boy from the Morning Roast. He called into Grandy and Evan, who picked up for us and went 6:30 to heck, 8 o'clock, I think, or even longer. And they did such a great job of taking calls. And then they had Chasky on, and they just let Joe go for about 15 minutes. I don't think he took a breath. And Joe just kind of worked his own way through his emotion. And Joe just lost his father earlier this year. And so he's telling stories about his dad and his grandpa. And it had me thinking about my dad, who's now been gone for almost 10 years. And we were more McCovey than we were Mays based on how old I am.
Yep.
But just hearing Joe talk about his connection with his dad and the Giants and Willie Mays made me think about my dad and all the rest of it. And now, every caller who calls in, and some of these callers are, 75 or 80 years old. I mean, I don't even know how old some of these callers are. And, you're hearing from people, and it does remind you of your own legacy and your own lineage as well.
Well, I mean, there's a tell. If someone says, hey, I watched him play.
There you go.
You're probably 60?
Minimum 60.
You're probably 60,
well,
right?
Willie's last game was 51 years ago.
73, right?
51 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So-
even at that, if you're saying I saw Willie play, it's
That
usually
means-
not I saw him as a Mets
Right.
at the tail end. You probably mean as a Giant, and
So you're probably 65.
maybe even 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Costas is quietly now 72.
Is he really?
Yeah, I hated to look that up. I mean, all these people. like,
Damn.
how can that be, right?
And he sounds the same.
Yeah.
Sounds the same.
Sounds like Bob Costas. Great interview.
We should have told him that. Dude, you sound like Bob Costas.
Has anyone ever told
Yeah. Doppelganger, man. Vocal doppelganger. Let's go to Donnell in Oakland. Hi, Donnell. What are you doing?
Well, I'm listening to you guys. Great show. The station overall has done a great job. I've been listening all day. I've been learning a lot of things. You guys had a caller on named Ron. I hope you're still listening. I'm a 53-year-old black man, bro, and what you said, like, it hit me because, my parents, they're about his age. My uncle, they called me, and calling about a baseball player that passed away, and it hit me when Ron was speaking as to what it meant, really, right? Like, their generation lived through the race riots and whatnot. And my parents tell me about that because they grew up in San Francisco. And believe it or not, they had that in the 60s. But Ron, we out here, bro. We pushing with you. Mark, thanks for saying thanks and stretching out and saying what you said, because I was feeling all of that. And Ron, Dan Dibley, Mark here, these dudes are from the Bay. I got friends that look like them. We get down. We partners for real. And it's because of y'all generation, my mom, my grandparents who came out here in the 40s, folks out here showing, brotherhood, scholarship, and service, and still pushing. My son, he's like me, because of y'all. My friends look like the United Nations. And I'm sure, Dan and Mark, y'all generation probably saw the same thing, but our parents didn't have that, and it's because of the struggles that they had to go through in order so y'all can have friends that look like me, and probably some real good friends.
Absolutely.
Like,
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
family,
I'm real.
family, yeah. Donnell,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
I mean, I just wanted to tell Ron, man, you ain't feeling weird, bro. Don't feel weird about that. We out here. Dan is out here. Mark is out here. Steiny's out here. Bonte's out here. Guru's out here. Shassy's out here. We out here, bro. This is the Bay. This is how we get down. Thanks to Willie Mays for putting it down like he did, and all the other greats, my grandparents. I'm finna call my mom and my uncle and tell them that I feel them. Ron, I feel you. Dan, I love you. Mark, I love you. Foster City, San Rafael, Frisco, Oakland, Richmond, Hayward, East Palo Alto. Man, the Bay representing here for Willie Mays. I'm out.
Donnell, beautiful,
Thank
man.
you, Donnell.
Bringing people together. That's I think how you can put that all into one sentence, and I think there's a lot more to say to that, and we'd love to address it. Donnell, thank you for calling in and saying that, and I'm confident Ron is still listening to us and felt all of that as well. We'll continue to take your call.